All right, Nuggets fans, welcome in to Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends here at Mile High Sports and FanDuel. I'm your host, Ryan Blackburn at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network. I am here. I am ready to discuss last night's Denver Nuggets loss to the Dallas Mavericks. Final score 131-121 in a game where I don't think any Nuggets fan actually expected to lose that one, especially when you go up to 21-4 in the first quarter. You go up first 5 minutes. Denver's offense at that point, unstoppable, like fathomably good offense that they're putting out there, and really great defense. You'll have 4 points in 5 minutes, and you expect to win the game. You expect to maybe not have that carry through, but the fact that Denver still gave up 131 points when they only gave up 4 points in the first 5 minutes of the game is it is concerning. It is concerning, and we can start talking about it. We can actually start really getting into that in this episode, really start talking about what the defense has looked like, the defense stepping back the way that it has, not super encouraging. Jamal Murray got hurt as well in the second quarter, and then again in the third quarter, he basically said, I got to get out of here and can't really. Actually, no, he got hurt at the beginning of the third quarter. Let me rephrase that. It was very early. But it was just not good. And Denver, of course, having to close without Jamal Murray for first time in a while, it did not look great. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the different layers here. We're going to talk about Denver's defense. We're going to talk about Jokic. We should talk about Spencer Jones. That's what I would like to talk about. Somebody who has done everything the right way for Denver and has been tremendous. He's been really good in what the Nuggets have asked him to do. And I think that there is at least a point of encouragement there. Somebody who has been really good for Denver defensively overall and is now figuring out some stuff on the offensive end too. Maybe that is a point of solace for everybody here. But I do think that the Nuggets at this point are in a small amount of trouble, like as much trouble as you can be in like the November, December range. Like Denver is now in a very difficult place. And this is one of the worries that I had when Christian Brown went down, when Aaron Gordon went down. Said, now you're really amping up the responsibilities for Jokic, for Murray, for Cam Johnson, for everybody involved. Yes, other guys can step up, but it just adds pressure. And now you're even taking another building block in Murray into that. And I just think that there's going to be some ramifications for that, not just now, but down the line too. In this game, Denver had several areas in which they really struggled defensively. The first was that Anthony Davis got going. He was, you understand why, like when Jokic and him are going one-on-one, or AD was staggering with the second unit for Dallas, so he was attacking Jonas Valanciunas in space and the Nuggets in transition and things of that nature. It wasn't all Jokic. I don't want to say it like it was, but it was still a pretty impressive performance from Anthony Davis overall. 32 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks. That was the exact kind of impact that you're looking for from him. But it wasn't AD. Like that wasn't the reason why Dallas won the game. It was Ryan Nembhard. Andrew Nembhard's younger brother, who plays for Indiana, has been very good for a long time. Ryan Nembhard just might be better. Like 28 points on 12 of 14 from the field, 4 of 5 from 3, 0 free throws, didn't matter. 10 assists, 3 rebounds, 0 turnovers for Ryan Nembhard. There was no resistance, just absolutely none from any of the Nuggets. And that includes their really good defensive players in Spencer Jones and Peyton Watson. Like Ryan Nembhard is an undersized, small, lightning quick point guard. It's an archetype that Denver has had a lot of trouble with. It's a type of player that Denver has struggled with over the course of many years. I think about Jalen Brunson. I think about other smaller guys who have given Denver issues over the years, and just kind of, it doesn't even have to be a starter. It could be a bench player. Oftentimes it is a bench player because Denver doesn't really give them the full breadth of expectation that they would have. Um, it often feels like Denver underestimates these guys. And okay, you make one pull up jumper, you make one layup, you set up one pass. Okay, it is what it is. But Nemhard was responsible for probably 55 points. Like with the assists that he had, with the points that he scored, he was unbelievable. And Denver just didn't do anything to stop him. They were battling against Cooper Flagg, who finished with 24 points himself on 10 of 19 from the field. I thought that they played pretty good defense against him, but Cooper Flagg just did Cooper Flagg things. And it was actually very cool to be in attendance for a Cooper Flagg rookie game, because that dude is going to be so good. he's going to be so good. That is a promise. He looks like he may not be the best player in the world at any point in time, but he's going to be a top 10 player in the NBA and just knows how to impact a variety of ways. But like the mix between those three different guys, you had a guard that was lightning quick, that got to wherever they wanted. You have a wing, a big forward in Cooper Flagg, who was overpowering, who could shoot off the dribble, who could make the important plays and also make some plays defensively. And then you have Anthony Davis, who attacking Denver's slower centers and in transition. And it just felt like they had enough of a mix that if all three of those guys were hitting, it was going to be challenging. Oh, and Max Christie went 3 of 4 from 3. And Klay Thompson went 3 of 6 or 3 of 5 from 3. And D'Angelo Russell, Brandon Williams, like guys like that had impact games off the bench. And Dwight Powell had 4 assists. Like, you can't give up everything. And that's what the Nuggets have been doing lately. That's why you give up 130 points in a game. And Denver simply hasn't worked. They haven't worked hard enough. They haven't worked well. I think that the defense itself is extremely concerning. I thought that, and we've talked about this before, I never thought the Nuggets were an elite defense. Never once. It was a possibility that they were a good defense, maybe even a really solid defense. Like maybe this was a team that could rise to the occasion on that end of the floor. But you start removing building blocks. You start, hey, suddenly Christian Braun looks pretty important, doesn't he? Suddenly Aaron Gordon looks pretty important, doesn't he? Suddenly, like, I know Jamal Murray's been pretty underwhelming at times from a defense perspective this year, but a healthy Jamal Murray, he would have helped. Absolutely. I think that Denver's overall mix, especially when you take out a couple of their defensive guys, it puts too much pressure on the other players to survive. Like, how much can Spencer Jones realistically think about defending when he's scoring 28? Like Peyton Watson, he has a responsibility offensively now. 15 points on 14 shots. He's thinking about, how can I score? How can I help this team on the other end? Especially when guys like Murray go down. Cam Johnson, he's been pretty solid defensively for much of the year for Denver, but and the offense has started coming back. But right when Denver needed it in this last game, Cam Johnson really struggled. 3 of 10 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3, a turnover at a poor time, and just was not super involved. And you look at that and you think about, okay, what does Denver's process usually look like in these moments? Well, it's the Jokic-Murray 2-man game, or you get Jokic and Aaron Gordon involved, or you have DHOs with Jokic and Christian Braun, and Denver suddenly has to go down the line and think, okay, what are we going to do here? The way that this ended up going was when Murray was out, you would have Tim Hardaway or Spencer Jones or Cam Johnson or whoever screen for Jokic as a ball handler on the offensive end, and Jokic would deliver a great pass. 13 assists, 2 turnovers is like, that's great. But then he had to start shooting, and he was just jacking up jumpers. It was not a super efficient plan of attack from Jokic. He was just trying to survive and get through it. I think if you had told him that Murray was not going to be back out there and he had time to process that, he would have delivered at least a little bit better of a performance. But he's just trying to survive and tried to hit some haymakers and get some shots, and it just did not work. I think that at this point, I think that Denver lacks a lot of creation, and CT Fazio says it here. Lack of creators other than Murray in the backcourt is a big issue. Denver went back and forth last night, and I can pull up the rotation chart here, actually. Might as well on this particular show. Denver went back and forth between Tim Hardaway Jr. and Bruce Brown at point guard in that fourth quarter. They didn't go to Jalen Pickett. It was in the fourth quarter. It unfair to Jalen in that situation after he doesn't play the entire time. So I understand why Adelman didn't do it. If Murray's out for an extended period of time, Jalen Pickett's going to have to play. That's for sure. And we're going to see once and for all, like, whether he can do the thing that Nuggets fans have hoped for him to be able to do. But you just see what's going on here with Denver and how much of a burden there actually is on the Nuggets to be able to do this effectively. And like, Bruce Brown took some of that time. Tim Hardaway Jr. took some of that time. Tim Hardaway finished with 6 assists, but Bruce struggled. He was sick last night, clearly not feeling great. I give him a little bit of a pass for that, but other than the 10 assist game that he's had, he hasn't played that well either. And there's just a lot that I think the Nuggets have to be able to figure out. Yeah, I don't know how to fully evaluate it. But here's the thing. Let's focus on it this way. As I said in the last show, I believe I said I said it after a win. Actually, no, I said it on I said it on Saturday after they lost on Friday night. I one of the times. Denver has done pretty well at the beginning of the year. They've won 7 in a row on the road. They've won a lot of tough games. They won at Houston. They just won at Phoenix. Like, Phoenix is a pretty good team and figuring it out. Denver's won at Minnesota multiple times. They've won versus Golden State. They've won and gone on the road to different places and played reasonably well. I'm not going to sit here and defend their overall strength of schedule because it could have been way tougher than it has been. But they did the thing. And they have gone through points of hardship and points of stress and struggle over the course of these last couple of weeks without a couple of their main guys. And you would like to see Nikola Jokic continue to step up and do the right things on both ends of the floor. You'd like to see Jamal Murray continue to do that. I think Jamal has done that in spades. I do not think he was having a good game last game. He did have 9 assists and was passing up a storm in that game, but I thought he was too loose with the ball for the most part and just really struggled to focus up when Denver had it so easy initially, because Denver gets caught with that. They get caught when it is very easy, when you're trying to make some things work. It didn't look or feel great for Denver in that second quarter when they gave up over 40 points again. They tried to bounce back, but the damage had already been done. And then you lose Murray for the fourth quarter. And obviously you're going to struggle to score, especially if you don't have any of the other go-to guys. You need Cam Johnson to step up in that moment. You need Peyton Watson to step up in that moment. These are guys, and like Peyton Watson hit a 3, but just overall the efficiency hasn't been perfect. If I told you that Peyton Watson was going to give you 15 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks in a game, you'd be like, all right, sure. Sounds good. So it is. I don't think you can really put it on Peyton Watson. Spencer Jones stepped up. There's no question. He's stepping up. Zeke Naji is just filling minutes at this point. Jonas Valanciunas, I thought he had some good productive moments as like individually, but the Nuggets were -9 in 11 Jonas Valanciunas minutes. It looks pretty familiar to last year, doesn't it? Like I know Jokic was -1 technically. Jonas Valanciunas -9. Like you need your bench to continue to be positive, and in this past game, it was negative again. There's a lot of reasons why Denver is losing games. There's a lot of reasons why at home it feels like they're getting distracted. I think the schedule is actually playing a significant part in it because they keep going on the road and then coming back for one home game. They're checking in with everybody that they love, that they care about. There's a couple more distractions at home, and they don't even have enough time to get fully adjusted when they go on a road trip and then come back for one game. This is not an excuse. This is just it's a fact of life. It's a fact of like how the NBA works. Denver's about to go on the road for another technically 4 games in a row, but they'll be on a 3-game road trip and then come back to Denver before going out to Sacramento again due to the break. But once they're able to actually get home and stay settled at home, I think that this is going to pass, but it's super discouraging. It is super like to give up 131 points to the Dallas Mavericks of all teams, the 30th ranked offensive team in the NBA, is really bad. Like, yeah, they haven't had Anthony Davis for a lot of that time, and they did have Anthony Davis against Denver, and he's always given Jokic individually, like he can score against Jokic when Jokic is not at playoff level. So it's tough. It is a tough thing. And there's also some scheme related things that the Nuggets are going to need to figure out because clearly, I mean, it's not all effort. That's not what this is. I think that there are miscommunications. I think that the execution is in part due to fatigue. I think that there's a lot of burden on each of these guys, but a lot of it is just the scheme and it's the design to give up some open shots. And if Denver's going to allow teams to shoot 16 of 31 from 3, it's going to be tough. Like you can't keep daring teams to make open threes against you because at some point, even like the worst teams in the NBA or the lowest offensive rated teams in the NBA are going to kill you. So I don't know. We'll see whether they can turn it around. I'm curious to see how they handle it. But when we come back, we are going to discuss Jamal Murray's injury and if the Nuggets need to trade for a point guard. We'll be right back here on Pickaxe and Roll. This podcast is brought to you by Delete Me. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone feel vulnerable. Data brokers, they profit off of your data. It's a commodity. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, and harassment. Have you ever been the victim of identity theft, harassment, doxing? If you haven't, you probably know someone who has. Delete Me can help. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to deleteme.com/hit and use promo code HIT at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/HIT and enter code HIT at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/HIT, code HIT. All right, we are back. Pickaxe and Roll, Ryan Blackburn here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show, folks. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. Trying to get some things set up here for a later segment, just so I have the flexibility to do that. Okay. Denver is in the offseason. I discussed the not bringing back of Russell Westbrook and the decision to why the Nuggets didn't bring him back as a variety of factors. The biggest of those factors was not about Russell Westbrook. It was about the guys that Denver brought in, the style of play that they wanted to go with, and a limited amount of resources that they had. They decided to bring in two different guys in Bruce Brown and Tim Hardaway Jr. as free agents. And had they I don't know, had they chosen to bring Russell Westbrook back in addition to those players, there would have been a significant time crunch for all three of them. And I believe, especially with the presence of Jalen Pickett as a depth piece behind those guys, I believe that what the Nuggets thought of was that when they're fully healthy, which of these guys are they going to choose to play? What is it going to look like? How is Russ going to react if he only has to play 10 to 12 minutes on some nights? Is Bruce Brown going to be okay with playing 6 minutes or being a DNP at various points? What happens if Tim Hardaway isn't shooting at all? Like, you want to give those guys, especially minimum contract guys, if you're signing them, you're trying to give them an opportunity. You're trying to give them an opportunity to get paid again in future years. And so when you bring in Tim Hardaway and Bruce Brown, would Russell Westbrook have been fine coming back? Maybe. I don't know. Once Denver had signed those guys, I got to imagine that he knew that the writing was on the wall at that point, at that threshold. And so Denver did choose like Tim Hardaway Jr. for his shooting, for his spacing, which has been tremendously valuable. And they chose Bruce Brown, who has like a connection to the city, has a versatile skill set, is a lower mistake player in general, and somebody who can play both on and off the ball and is fine playing off the ball pretty extensively. It isn't going to respond to that by just taking a bunch of perimeter shots. Like, that's not what would happen. That was the choice. That was the reason why it really happened. Whether you think that was the right choice or not is up to you. And in retrospect, it certainly looks like it was the wrong choice to let go of Russell Westbrook, a good point guard, somebody who's not quite starter caliber, but pretty close, and not allow him to come back, not prioritize that, given his ability to help prop Denver up during the regular season and what he could do from just a production standpoint, from a stability, not even really stability standpoint, but you have a plan. You have a plan going into it with the second unit, and not having Jamal Murray now. You start to look at the roster, you start to look at what Denver's going to do, what the choices are that they have, and you don't really like it. Like, it's not a good choice. This is, again, the rotation chart that they had last night. They're already starting Peyton Watson at the 2, Cam Johnson at the 3, Spencer Jones at the 4. Like, hypothetically, let's say they don't have Jamal Murray for a couple games. I don't think, like, this is an ankle sprain. I don't think it was like Christian Brown's ankle sprain, which was like very visceral bad initially when that happened. I think this is a little different. But let's say, okay, you're missing Jamal for 2, maybe 3 games. Maybe he just misses the road trip. Maybe that's what it is. He misses 3 games. How do you survive? What do you do? Is this so concerning that you have to start adding a new person to the roster? Well, you're probably starting one of Bruce Brown or Tim Hardaway Jr. I think that's like, while David Adelman would prefer to keep that bench intact, he's talked about that before with Brown, Hardaway, and Valanciunas coming off the bench, providing offense and versatility and those things, veteran savvy. While he might prefer that, I don't think that's reasonable at this point. You have lost Murray, Brown, and Gordon. It's really difficult to make that up in the starting unit if you keep taking from your third string lineup as opposed to your second string lineup. So I'll be curious to see how they handle it and what that actually looks like. Does Jalen Pickett jump into the starting lineup? Does he leapfrog over some of those other guys? Like, the last time they tried to do that, it's funny, it was actually against Indiana. So I don't think that they're going to do that against Indiana. But like, hypothetically, let's say they do. Are they going to be capable of that? Like, is Jalen Pickett going to be able to step up? This is a make or break moment for his career. And that's how I kind of wanted to define it. But yeah, Jalen Pickett's not playing. Hunter Tyson's not playing. Curtis Jones is not playing. And the other guys who are not there, like Tamar Bates is inactive. He's in the G League, or actually, he's like saved on two-way spots. And Deron Holmes is also in the G League, though he's not going to really impact the point guard position. So you've got this. You've got that mix. What can you do from a point guard perspective? And do you need to go get another guy? Like, is that just a requirement at this point? It might be. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that they shouldn't do it. I thought that initially when people were talking about, okay, the bench is struggling. The bench is struggling. Like it's not going as well as you would hope. That was not the reason to go get a backup point guard. That was not it. I understand why people said it, but that was not the reason, because you can just play better. And Denver did play better for a while. But now that you've got injuries and now you've got your starting point guard and your starting shooting guard out, you really have a little bit more emphasized on some other spots in your rotation. Like Tim Hardaway Jr. wasn't brought in to play 30 to 35 minutes a game. Bruce Brown wasn't brought in to play 25 to 30 minutes a game. That's not what they were brought in to do, but now they're going to have to. And Denver, I think, is in a very interesting place. So how do they respond? Well, Jokic is going to be taking on a lot of playmaking responsibility. Cam Johnson, in theory, should be running a lot of point guard. That was something that he did in Brooklyn. Unfortunately, he was just he was just starting to get used to a lot of things with Denver and how he was running the small forward position. And now, you're going to need him to be a point guard at some point. That's a lot of burden. It's a lot of option here. He's capable of doing it. Just got to stop thinking and just got to start running two-man game. Just got to start really getting into the weeds on how to navigate with Jokic. And this is I think back to 2018-19 when you had Gary Harris, Paul Millsap, and Will Barton all out for a month of time. Whether it was a month or 3 weeks or however long, there was a stretch of time relatively early in that season where all three of those guys, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, were out. And it was the reason, I kid you not, it was the reason why the Jokic Murray two-man game is so potent today. Because they just ran reps consistently for a month, just getting to know each other and figuring out how they were supposed to do this thing. So you remove your starting point guard, shooting guard, power forward. Can you do something similar with Jokic and Cam Johnson? Is this trial by fire situation? Those guys are going to have to get through it. They're going to have to learn each other. I'm not sure if Jokic wants to do that. There's part of me that thinks that he's not necessarily super enthused about that idea. But I don't think he has a choice, man. I don't think that is not how they need to go. They need to find a way for this to work. And Cam Johnson's talented enough that they can do it, at least against you've got three teams here. If this is a 3-game situation, you've got Indiana. They've got some pretty talented on-ball players, but Cam Johnson's also capable of handling the basketball. You've got Atlanta. They've got Dyson Daniels. That's a pretty tough matchup. But they also you should be capable of navigating that, especially with the attention that Jokic takes on a consistent basis in that two-man game. And then you've got Charlotte, who, if you can't score against Charlotte, then what are you doing? So I think that Cam's just got to step up. This is the requirement. This is not on Jalen Pickett. This is not on Bruce Brown. This is not on Tim Hardaway Jr. This is on Cam Johnson. You traded for him. This is the reason why you spent an extra first-round pick. It was because he was malleable. It was because he fit into what you're trying to do. And while there are some potential issues with trying to speed up that growth, I just think you got to do it. I just think you have to figure it out. And there's no better way to do it than to play, than to get into it with each other and try to figure out how to navigate these situations, these ever changing tides. Like it feels like the right call to me. So we'll see what happens. We'll see whether they can actually do that. Um, but the last thing that we'll talk about here, does Denver still need to trade for a point guard? Is this still something that they need to do? Um, I think so. I think that they need to go get somebody else. It's not just for their offense. It's not just for their ball handling. It is for it's for everything else. Um, Actually, well, before we get into that, Real One 296 says, Ryan, why don't they buy out Hunter Tyson and Zeke Naji and sign real NBA players? If Lillard and Beal can be bought out, everybody can. Denver got 4 wasted roster spots. Those are the margins. I understand why you're saying that. Denver has financial constraints that they are trying to deal with, that they're trying to navigate. It's things that I've discussed before. They are trying to stay under the first apron. They are trying to avoid like incurring a whole bunch of extra money during this stretch so that they can have more flexibility in these future years. Whether you like that as an excuse or not, I don't know. But that is the reason why they are doing it. And they're trying to save money. Like that's one of the reasons why they've had 14 guys on the roster as opposed to 15. But this is around the right time where you start to think about, okay, well, you've missed 3 starters and you have some weakness in the backcourt. Should probably go add somebody on the open market. So whether that's a trade or whether it's free agency is what it is. But yeah, like the Hunter Tyson contract is an expiring deal. Like you try to trade that at the end, like at the trade deadline. You do not try to get out of it now. Like that's not how it's supposed to go. And you've also got Spencer Jones stepping up right now, and it's giving you at least a leg to stand on during this time. Cody says Dennis Smith Jr. as an option on the free agent market. I would also add Amir Coffey. I'm not sure what Amir Coffey is doing right now, but the Clippers suck. And it's entirely because Amir Coffey is not there entirely. I can't believe it. No, I've liked Amir Coffey as a kind of a do a little bit of everything kind of wing for a long time and think that he'd be a good guy to throw into the mix here. But yeah, whether it's a point guard and just like a traditional ball handling option, whether it's somebody else, just a versatile wing that you get into the building, Denver just needs another guy. They need another player that they could work into the mix here. And because Bruce has a lot of pressure on him as the backup point guard right now, he might end up being the starter. He's also struggled, and there's no two bones about it. Like he has struggled with some of that. Delano Banton, like another great option from Cody. Thank you for bringing it to the table. There's so many different players that Denver could go get, and they just have to be willing to pay for it. And like you're gonna miss Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon for the next 3 to 4 weeks. I think you gotta like absolutely be at least a little bit concerned if Murray misses any more than like a week, then that would be pretty important. So I don't know. There's a lot of things I think that you could point to. A point guard would be great, but more than anything, it's not just about the point guard position. It's just somebody that can initiate with the ball in their hands, somebody that you're comfortable handling the basketball, dribbling, passing, driving, doing the normal things that a ball handler can do. In the modern NBA, you don't necessarily need that to be your point guard. Like you could have that be your 2 guard, your 3, your 4. Like it doesn't matter, but they need somebody who's capable of initiating offense, because a lot of guys you just want them to have it simplified. You want them to be able to just catch and shoot. You want them to not have to drive into traffic. And it just feels like they've been doing a lot of that lately. So look, the most important concerns are still on the defensive end. It's not with an offensive player. Like while it would be nice to make sure that you always have that, Denver with Jokic is always still going to have a baseline level for what they can reach. But the real problem is still defensively. If you cannot guard then it doesn't matter whether you have a point guard or not. Like, you have to be able to give yourself a chance on the defensive end. So curious to see whether they can do it, and if this was the wake-up call that they needed, or if this is just another kind of early season game that they can't really put too much emphasis on because they're trying to work for later. Like, catching OKC in the standings was always a complete lack of, like, that was never going to happen. It was just not reasonable to think that that could happen. But I do think that at this point, Denver is in a very interesting position. To be the 1 seed in the Western Conference, Oklahoma City is minus 2,000 according to FanDuel. Houston is plus 2,000. Denver's plus 2,700. That's not happening. Like, the West 1 seed is off the table. But what's interesting now is that Houston has overtaken Denver in their odds to be the 2 seed in the West. They've been missing Fred VanVleet for the entire year, but still they're plus 145 to be the 2 seed. Denver is plus 230. Denver's now losing some ground to even the Los Angeles Lakers as the 3 seed. Denver's plus 240 to be the 3 seed. Houston's plus 240. The Lakers are plus 260 with the way that they've started the year. So Denver is at risk of falling to 4 in the Western Conference standings. That's a nightmare scenario for Denver. And I think that Denver should be doing everything that they can to get a top 3 seed in the West. You want to be on the opposite side of the bracket of the OKC Thunder. You want to make sure that you would get to the Western Conference Finals before you have to face them. And if like this past year, if you have to face them as the 4 seed once again, it just means, like, yeah, could you upset them? Sure, but it's going to take everything out of you. It's going to be a real struggle at that point to get to the Western Conference Finals and to get through the Western Conference Finals. But you face a tougher seed and in the 5th seed rather than the 6th or the 7th. Like, it just is tougher. So I hope that Denver can bounce back here. They're still 14-6. They've won 70% of their games. They're still on pace for like 58. But like, the pace is slowing down, and injuries only add to that and make it more complicated. So we'll see whether they can bounce back. We'll see whether they get a point guard. We'll see whether they can get healthy. We'll see whether they can play some defense. But for now, that is going to do it for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends here at Mile High Sports and FanDuel. Thank you so much, folks, for tuning into the show. Hope you enjoyed the show. Apologies that it's not the most positive one right now, but you don't want positive. They've lost 4 in a row at home. You want to see a win. So we'll talk about it on Thursday as well. Denver has a game. Tomorrow's my birthday. Hopefully Denver can just like make things easy for me and just get a win over Indiana. That would be great. But yeah, we'll see whether they can do that. Everybody have a great day. I will talk to you guys very soon on Thursday.